Alright, so what's up? Hello. A lot of you folks out there are very, very interested in K-pop stans' business for some reason. Some of you are not K-pop stans, and you just talk about being K-pop stans and like how K-pop stans are so weird or whatever. And a lot of people love to make a lot of dudes on YouTube and women and non-binary folk love to go on YouTube or academia or journalism, and you guys love to have these conversations about how terrible K-pop stans are and how toxic the culture is and all that shit. And cool, like I respect that because you're right. I'm toxic as shit. If you guys want to know about some toxic K-pop stans, I'm about to explain to you the actual most toxic stans in the universe. Well, they're out there. There's a lot of categories of very toxic stans. Okay, there's a lot of categories of stans that are overreaching and are toxic and are really mean to each other, think that they have ownership of their idols and all that other stuff. You know, K-pop is full of those folks. Thank you, Lee Suman. Thank you so much for that. But there's not just that. It's a lot of divisions and subcategories and different types of toxic behaviors that come from different places. We're not just all like K-pop stans that just all have the same orientation. And the motherfuckers that are really bad, like that are really, really, and everybody hates them, and we're not sure why they're still here, are the solo stans. If you guys don't know what solo stans are, they're basically what is implied. So as you know, K-pop idols, they're in groups, right, generally, and these groups will have between, anywhere from like 4 to like 25 million members or whatever NCT is at right now. And these groups, no disrespect, awesome groups, awesome songs, love Fire Truck, but these groups, they benefit from having these really attentive fan bases and these fan bases that are willing to spend a lot of money. And a lot of times those fan bases will be consistent of people who don't really give a crap about the group and are actually actively sabotaging the group. And we call them solo stans. They only like one member of the group. They only care about one member of the group, which is fine. There are groups out there that I only care about one member. It's pretty common for people to be more enthusiastic at the very least about certain members over other members. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is that solo stans actively try to only push an agenda that they think will benefit only one member, which often is actively sabotaging the rest of the group. These spaces are incredibly toxic. They're the people that give K-pop stans a bad name, and we do enough of that on our own. Although I'm not saying we, because I'm a BTS stan, so I'm a little bit different. But K-pop stans, they get mad about a lot of different things. They get seen as toxic about a lot of different things. But in reality, your average K-pop fan is just a regular person who's a fan of music. Don't know why that gives people so many problems, but part of it is possibly because they keep getting tied up with these kinds of folks. Let me explain to you what solo stans in the BTS fandom have done today, because this is what's engendering me to talk about this, okay? And I don't usually like to talk about these things. I like to keep things peaceful. I like to keep things rosy and beautiful. But enough's enough. The other day, I'm on the stream, and people are sending me this link to an article that says the person who designed the hanboks that a member of BTS, Jimin, wore for a performance. Hanboks are a type of traditional garb, so basically his shirt. They're selling it in an auction, which is not abnormal. In fact, BTS have done a lot of, auctioning off of their clothes to help people during the pandemic with music cares. That's excellent. This was a little bit different. They were going to sell this hanbok for an extremely high price, and they claimed that it was completely unwashed. They took the hanbok off of Jimin, who's an amazing dancer working his ass off, amazing singer working his ass off, doing amazing things. So he's focused on doing his thing. They take his hanbok back. The designer gets an offer. Hey, do you want to sell this at an auction? Just don't wash it. And they're in there now in this article claiming, oh yeah, we got the unwashed Jimin hanbok that we can, with his natural odor emanating from it. Just the creepiest stuff in the world, right? And so BTS stans, being rational human beings, a lot of the times, not always, unfortunately, I can get a little irrational. It's true, but a lot of BTS fans obviously were like, hey, this is stupid, because not all BTS stans are stalkers. But you know who are stalkers? A lot of solo stans are stalkers. And these folks, for some reason, were incredibly mad about it. I don't know if they think that it's going to affect the brand ranking, which is just this arbitrary ranking of idols sorted by popularity that nobody actually cares about. But they have their little reasons, and BTS stands, here they go again, sabotaging the one true, our member. That's what they do. They don't care about him. They just care. They're OT6, or they're antis of G, whatever, doing that whole shit. And they're so convincing, obviously, because if you're not somebody who's in this situation, and you're just looking at these toxic K-pop fans fighting each other, you're not able to tell exactly who's wrong and who's right. Except in this situation, I would hope you would understand that selling somebody's unwashed shirt without their permission, ostensibly, is so immoral and stupid, and people who will be lining up to buy that are very creepy people. Like, they're engaging in incredibly creepy behaviors, and that's not cool, and I don't condone that. So you might be asking, like, what the heck causes these folks to be like this? And trust me, we've been asking the same question for like a number of years now. It's fine. Throughout all the K-pop fandoms, who all beef with each other all the time because that's all we do. We like to beef, we like to fight, we like to shoot. K-pop fans may love to fight all the time, but there are certain values that they do generally share, if they're not strange in their behaviors and philosophies, which is a lot of people. Because stop thinking that people that like a certain type of music are just inherently crazy. Anyway, if you're talking about stalker fans, the people that we're talking about are solo stans, and K-pop fans across all fandoms have a hatred of solo stans. There are certain fandoms that have more solos than others, especially the fandoms that are bigger, since BTS is such a huge sensation, and they have such a huge fandom, and they're so impactful. It's obvious that they're going to have a lot of solo stans as well, because every fandom has them, and the ones that are in ours are so annoying. They constantly engage in these behaviors. Now you might ask, why do these folks do this, as I said before? And I think it comes down to a lot of different things. I think a lot of people are just very easily swayed by certain, let's say, reactionary movements these days. You look at what Donald Trump did to be the president of the US for 4 years, if you look at QAnon, if you look at all of these different people across the internet that gather in these small groups and do these horrible things, this is the kind of thing that is extra exacerbated by the internet and social media and its capacity to just let people on the internet and say what they want, which is great, except sometimes it's not, because people are easily motivated and convinced of things when they have nothing better to do. When people don't have anything better to do, and they don't have anything good going for them in their life, apparently, they just love to latch on to these movements that are nonsensical and hurtful and harmful towards everybody involved, but that make sense in their head. And even if people consistently try to disprove it and consistently show all the facts and all the evidence, they could easily just be like, you just manipulated that. And in K-pop, those folks are solo stans. We can also talk about sasangs and shippers, but that's another conversation for a whole other day. But solo stans, everybody hates them, right? And why do they consistently pop up? Because of these movements. But why are these movements so appealing to them? Especially if you're going to be part of one, at least get into something hardcore. Like, why are you K-pop fan QAnon? Like, that's weird. I'm assuming they're part of both anyway. I just assume anybody who's a solo stan is part of both. I think we should talk about how solo stans reorganize and manipulate others. So people who are solo stans love to benefit from the culture that we have of calling people out, and the culture that we have of just toxicity and arguments online, to muddy the waters with false information that looks like it might be true, and all types of different argumentative tactics to focus all of the negative energy in one direction. So obviously there's a lot of people that join K-pop fandoms from the jump just to cause trouble. They like the feeling of being in packs and fighting other people and being mean to other people, because it feels like it gives them a sense of empowerment. And, sorry that you feel that way, but that's not true. Because it's so easy to manipulate misinformation on the internet, K-pop fans who are solo stans, who are not really K-pop fans, they're not really fans of the group. We don't count them. If you're a solo stan, you're not a BTS stan. You're just not. You're a stan of one member, and you're not even supporting the one member in reality, because you're not supporting their actual wishes. You're just pushing ideas on them and claiming that anything other than that idea is toxic and hurtful towards the member who hasn't spoken to you and doesn't actually care about what you're saying. For one, I think a lot of people, because of y'all, because of all you folks out there that love to write your little, oh, K-pop is so toxic pieces, a lot of these folks are just conditioned to see nothing but negativity in K-pop, which is great. But instead of pointing their problems towards systemic problems, which they should be doing, and pointing them towards executives and executive decisions by these labels that are incredibly manipulative, they seem to point their energy towards other fans, because they think that fans have control over it, and they think that fans are the ones that are creating the problems for some reason. And it's true that throughout K-pop history, there have been so many instances of K-pop labels being incredibly toxic and manipulative and exploitative, underpaying, harming all types of different idols. And the life of being a K-pop idol is incredibly strenuous. And it's great to have people in your corner who are standing up for you. And that's what stans try to do generally. They try to stand up for these idols to make sure that they're represented, to make sure that their music is heard, etc., etc. And it's great that people are pointing their attention towards the injustices in the K-pop industry. But the reality is that a lot of people like to use that as manipulation to just get across a kind of point that makes sense to them. And they put out all these different exceptionalist ideas, and they don't actually zoom in and do real journalism to investigate the real things that have happened in these different labels. Let's name them: SM, YG, JYP. When they don't do that, a lot of people just have this idea in their mind that K-pop as a whole is conditionally always abusive in the same ways, which is not true. And you can say a lot of things about BTS's label, Big Hit, and obviously HYBE, the new holding company or whatever. You could talk a lot about how you don't agree with certain decisions that they've made, but the reality is that they don't engage in the same behaviors that SM did in 2004, because SM doesn't even engage in the same behaviors that they do in 2004. There's a lot of evidence that you can look at to see whether or not an idol is being manipulated, but a lot of people like to use things like line distribution. Oh, this member of the group didn't have as many lines in the single as another member of the group, that means they're oppressed. Like, no, it doesn't. I make music, and I understand how difficult it is to write songs in general, but especially distributing them evenly across parts is very, very difficult. And BTS is a group that decides on line distribution based off of how they feel each member will suit the parts of the song. This is something that they discussed over and over again, and yet for some reason, and really what they're saying then, if you're a solo stan and you're saying that the line distribution is terrible and oppressive, is that you're saying that the other members of the group BTS are oppressing certain members of the group, which is not true, and it's dumb. But they use that as manipulation, as if these artists aren't grown as human beings who are happy some half of the time to do what they want to do, even if it doesn't get as much attention in certain aspects, because maybe they're getting attention in other aspects, or maybe they don't want as much attention. Regardless, people see that as oppression. People see these little clips that people will manipulate online where somebody looks a little bit unhappy and then say to themselves, oh snap, oh snap, got him, look at how unhappy this member of BTS looks in this video. And it's like, oh, he was just hungry, or oh, he was just tired because they just performed in this 2-hour concert and sang and danced their hearts out, and he's sitting there a little bit tired, or he's criticizing his own performance. That means that he's not being shown enough love by the rest of the label. He's an artist. People who are artists, she's an artist. People who are artists criticize themselves all the time, except for me, because I know that I'm perfect. But a lot of other people criticize themselves constantly because they're trying to get to a better place, and they're perfectionists, and they have insecurities like any human being. But the reality is that the solo stans do not see these other fucking members of the group as human beings, nor the member that they supposedly idolize. They see them as pawns in their game. And they can't admit to themselves that maybe the picture that they have in their head about the idol that they supposedly idolize does not quite add up to what the idol actually thinks. And so a lot of the people that get into these solo stan spaces are young people. Honestly, like a lot of them are kids. Like a lot of people that get into K-pop, a lot of them are kids, a lot of them are young adults, teenagers. So a lot of them are too young to be on the internet, or too young to be on Twitter in general. Let's just be real about that. But they're on the internet, they're doing their thing. And it's easy for them to be manipulated by being shown certain information. Now, how do K-pop fans fight solo stans within these fandoms? I mean, they're constantly fighting them. But the reality is that if you're that good at manipulating information and that good at making people look bad, even when it's members of the literal group you're supposed to be supporting, imagine what you can do towards other fans that are trying to shout you down. We had a fan translator, who a lot of people don't like for various reasons, but this is not about that, because this fan translator literally quote tweeted the article saying, we're going to sell Jimin's hanbok unwashed so you can get his natural odor and auction it off to the highest bidder. And literally was just like, what? In a quote tweet. And has been harassed on Twitter for like days by solo stans. Didn't even say some wild ass shit like I'm saying right now. Solo stans are stupid. Come at me. But like, they didn't even say some wild shit like that. Stupid means foolish. I'm not insulting your intelligence. I'm insulting what you're doing with the intelligence that you have. And they're constantly spreading narratives. If they see this and they don't like what I've said, they'll spread narratives about me. They'll spread narratives about anybody that tries to fight them and say that they're an anti of somebody. If you're a fan and you've been on Stan Twitter for a few years now, like my friend Awa and other friends like that, you've probably been called an anti of every member of BTS, even though you literally stan BTS. And you've been talking positively about them and encouraging them and supporting them and doing the most for them for years, because the solo stans from each group will find little things to nitpick and say that you're full of shit. It's scary. It's scary, except it's not, because they have no real power and no real say. It's just scary within these insular communities because all these damn kids will just see these things taken out of context and be like, that's a problem. They'll see some tweet that somebody made. Oh, I forgot that it was Jimin's birthday today. Or you didn't post something for Taehyung's birthday. You're an auntie of Taehyung. Dude, if forgetting somebody's birthday or forgetting somebody did something or even just like awkwardly saying something about somebody that could come off in a certain way counts as being an auntie of that person, like both of my parents are my aunties. Like my mom still doesn't know my birthday. She calls me Roderick half the time. That's my sibling's name. Like, is my mom my own auntie? Perhaps. This kind of thing is just very faulty reasoning, and yet folks will get on Twitter and be like, I don't know. And one of the greatest things that you can do now on the internet, whether it's somebody who's problematic or who's not problematic, by the way, everybody's problematic, but that's a whole other conversation that probably a million people have had in more articulate ways than I can do. There's a lot of people on the internet that will make these threads, these call out threads, or make these videos or whatever, and stack up these different things out of context or these different little moments and slips and mistakes of somebody and say, this person is evil. How did we not get them out of here before? When it's just like, okay, if you want to call somebody out for problematic behavior, if you want to recognize actual patterns of problematic behavior, if you even want to deplatform somebody because they've crossed the line too many times and have endangered people or whatever, that's one thing. If you're making a thread where you're literally collecting different little slip-ups or different little things that look like slip-ups and information out of context, and then suggesting the absolute worst punishment towards a person, that's obviously clear manipulation. You're not actually interested in helping anybody. You're interested in pushing an agenda that makes you look good or supports something that you care about. And that's easy to do because there's so many people that are so sensitive to these things. They're so sensitive to call outs and wanting to respect other people's boundaries that they'll easily find that stuff and at least be made uncomfortable by it. Like, maybe I don't like that account. They're able to do it and more or less get away with it because nobody can point things in one direction of a solo stan. Because first of all, people are afraid to engage with solo stans because of course they are. Who would want to interact with people like this? But additionally, people are also scared that somebody's going to come after them. They're scared that they're going to get come after. And when people are getting come after on Twitter and people are so easily buying into these narratives that are so sloppily put together because manipulation of emotions is so easy on Twitter and other social media sites, the attention gets placed on the creators. The attention gets placed on the Twitter accounts of actual OT7 stans. And the solo stans become this nebulous entity. You're not thinking about, oh, this account of who's a Jimin solo stan. Like, who knows? And then who wants to come after them, etc., etc. Because they continuously suggest that, number one, there are these constant actors within the fandom and within the group and within the label that are trying to demean their fave or trying to hurt them or trying to stop their career or whatever. They're able to constantly put the conversation's onus on those people and not on themselves because they remain anonymous, nebulous others that we all see as solo stans, right? But additionally, because they're able to do that, they're constantly able to feed the narrative to new people and to people within these solo stan groups that they're coming at our fave from all different directions. They're trying to undermine him. You have to do this, this, and that. It's the most manipulative thing. And I bet if you look into these big accounts on solo stan Twitter, you will find that a lot of them are literally just using this shit for clout. Like, I'm very upfront about the fact that I make YouTube videos and I make music and I want people to listen to it, and I'm also a stan of BTS. And if you don't like that, you don't have to fuck with me. If you don't like that, you can talk shit about me. It's fine. I don't care. But a lot of people like to pretend that they're actually here for the fandom and simultaneously, slowly build capital off of this shit without even acknowledging it. You see these big solo fan bases that end up with tens of thousands of followers. They're able to do these fundraisers for projects that don't even exist. Raise funds for this member of BTS's upcoming mixtape, which he's never announced or talked about or indicated that he wanted to do before. But we're going to raise funds for it so that if one day it happens, we're going to have all this money. And first of all, what is the funds for? For buying it? Like, that's it. Like, you could raise that money on that week. You could donate that money that week. But regardless, where's that money going? Or when somebody does these deals, like we covered with crypto scammers on Baby Gang, when somebody does these deals with these crypto scammers, oh, we're going to do this fundraiser, or we're gonna do this giveaway. just give me your money and your personal information, and we'll send somebody, some lucky person, or we'll send all these donations to our fave who needs our help so much. Like, how obvious is that? Obviously, this person is scamming you. But these folks who are so easily manipulated don't realize that they're actually being put through a cult scam. They don't actually realize that they're being put into these spaces that are manipulating them into giving other people clout and money and attention and favors and hugs. And I'm sure a lot of people within solo stand spaces have made good friends and found a lot of enlightening things. You can find beauty everywhere. But it just sucks because you could find more beauty over here. You could still love your one member and be a fan of the group and not undermine the group and not create false narratives out of nowhere. But they have to do that because the scam won't keep going if they don't keep doing it. So it's all a scam, basically, and it results in some of the most toxic behaviors online. So what can we do about it? Nothing, because they're not going to go away. They're not going to go away. They're going to come at whoever they see as a threat. Then they're going to create these threads about how this person's problematic and how that person's problematic, and all the attention is going to go on them. So if they fucking don't like me, they'll make a thread about me and about how I'm problematic and how all these problems exist. And people will have to end up talking about, well, what about if Elliot was meaning this? Or, oh, Elliot's not like that. Elliot is da-da-da. And who gives a shit about Elliot? Because I'm just here. I'm wearing a Jill Sondare shirt, bro. You can't say shit to me. It's fine. We're talking about solo stands, and now the conversation has deflected. And that's what it's about. That's why people are hateful. Because when you're hateful, you get to manipulate your hate into getting stuff from it. From people who are also engaged in that hate. That's the economy of hate. That's the economy of hate, and solo stands benefit from it so much. So what I'm saying is we need to create some more coalitions and some more efforts to embarrass the hell out of these people so that you, at least, if you're going to be a problematic solo stand, which all solo stands is problematic, you got to hide it a little bit more. You got to fake it. You know what I mean? Like the Trump stands, they came out they were so aggressive now because their guy won. This is what the stands are doing. Because they get these little moments of attention, they are able to pivot it into marketing campaigns. We should do some marketing campaigns too. So that's why I'm saying, like, if you're not into K-pop, if you're not into BTS, whatever, if you think we're all corny losers, that's fine. That's fine, bro. I'm not bothered by it. I don't want to be friends with you anyway. Like, it's cool. You're missing out on the Love Yourself series. That's not my problem. That's your problem, bro. This could be you. It could be you, but it's not. Whatever. But if you're gonna talk about K-pop stands, we'll give you some scoops, man. We got all the K-pop stand toxicity teas that you need. We got all the wonderful screenshots of terrible things that people are saying and terrible harassment campaigns. We got all of it dialed up, ready. I'll help you edit the video. I'll help you market the video. Look at these toxic K-pop stands. But all you have to do is make sure that you're indicating that these are solo stands. And let the people know that the other K-pop stands who are not in this compromised, damaged position that they have to believe this stuff and push this stuff are fighting back. And they've always been fighting back, and they always will fight back. And I need the people within the fandoms to also recognize that it's okay if some people don't want to fight, because maybe some people just want to stand a group and don't want to spend their existence standing a group fighting some noble battle against weirdos on the internet. Like, maybe that's the case. Like, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily that people are so intimidated or so scared of the solo stands. Why would you want to be around them? Why would you want to talk about them? We're here to talk about the upcoming BTS record and the McDonald's deal. I'm ready to get those chicken nuggets. Like, I'm having a good time. And now you want me to spend my energy talking about some terrible behaviors that aren't going away and then risk possibly compromising my own peace? Obviously, people don't want to do that. They want to be doing good, positive stuff. And talking about solo stands, that's not great positive behavior. Fortunately for you, you have me, who is deeply unafraid of being negative as hell. I'm a negative, terrible person sometimes. And it's great. I enjoy it. Because I'm not actually terrible. And I'm not actually good. It's just that sometimes on days like these, when I've had enough, I am willing to say something. Not all the time. Sometimes I sit. Sometimes I'd rather not. Most of the times I'd rather not. But today, how can you argue with not auctioning off unwashed hanboks to stalkers? Who's gonna argue against that other than people who are not really arguing against that, but are arguing against you? They don't care that they're going to lose the intellectual battle. They care about damaging your reputation, damaging the space, damaging the energy, and putting this energy into your mind so that if something else happens, they can either coax you into being part of them or coax you into giving them more attention. And that's it. So if they want attention, fine. Here's a beautiful, well-worded, kind-hearted rant by me in a Jill Sonder shirt. I can't emphasize enough how wonderful this shirt is. I'm living the best life. I'm about to eat some delicious salmon that my mother's cooking. I'm about to record 1,000,000 great records because I rap and sing and I make good music all the time because I'm a good person. I'm a decent human being. It's true. It's true. I'm the best. But I had to give you a little bit of something on this because why not? Why not? And I hope that a lot of more people are paying attention to this phenomenon outside of the folks that are already paying attention on Twitter. Because maybe in that way we can shame and bully people a little bit. Sometimes bullying good. Sometimes bullying good. Maybe. Possibly. If not, let me know what your thoughts are. If you're a solo stan and you want to argue with me, only argue with me with kindness and respect. Do not talk to me nasty. Talk to me nice. And use true things. Don't make stuff up. Use the truth. And comment in the comments below. If you're somebody who doesn't like K-pop stans, comment. If you're somebody who doesn't like BTS, comment. I'm living a great life. I'm having a great time being a BTS. I can't imagine not being a BTS stan. I cannot imagine not being a BTS stan right now. How sad is that, bro? You're not a stan of all 7 of those guys? Look at them, bro. Look at how cool they are. Look at what they do. Look at the lyrics in their music, bro. Again, it is what it is. And much respect to all the K-pop stans out here who are struggling with the solo stans in their own fandoms. I hope you find peace and blessings. There's a lot of great K-pop groups out there. It is true. I don't want you to feel like I'm too shady. Maybe I have a little bit of shade on the side. I might nudge you with the elbow and let you know some things that I feel about BTS and multis and da-da-da. But much respect to the K-pop stans. We all have this problem. And somebody's got to talk about it. So I'm going to talk about it, and a bunch of other people will talk about it, and it's going to keep going, it's going to keep going. I'm never going to talk about it again because I'm tired, and this has been one of the most exhausting things I've ever done in my life. But I have to expunge it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to watch some YouTube videos about Jujutsu Kaisen, eat my salmon, make great music, and have a good life. Take care.